Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We once again are going to be on a subject that seems to be increasingly riveting the attention of Americans, and for good reason. What we are talking about here this evening is the proposition that the Congress will take over a period of time, 1/6 of the U.S. economy, that is the healthcare section of the economy. Obviously, this big a change, a remake of healthcare, which is not just a changing a little portion here or there, but a complete remake of healthcare, is a question of significant proportion. It is a very costly proposition. It's one that involves a tremendous amount of change, and any change, of course, is controversial. This proposal, though, is more controversial than most and is resulting in a tremendous outpouring of phone calls. The switchboards are almost shut down here at the Capitol. But we once again tonight are going to be talking about it because there is talk that we might even vote on the bill this week, and who knows what's going to happen. I am joined in the chamber by Dr. Fleming, a very fine physician, but also a member of Congress, and someone who knows a considerable amount about the health care bill. Part of what the discussion has been lately has been a question of the procedure of how the bill would become law. And that's, I think, where I think we should start, because I think that's where the news is right now and is a big question. And Dr. Fleming, I thought we might just start there, because that's a lot of people have heard about the bill, even know some of the things in the bill. But the question is how this bill would become law. And I'm going to start by just laying down the simple pattern that's in the U.S. Constitution. The way that a bill becomes law is that it's passed by the Senate, it's passed by the House, it's sent to the President, and he signs it. That's the plain, bare-bones facts of how it works. That's what the Constitution says. The Constitution gives the House and the Senate a lot of flexibility in how we design our rules, but ultimately, the bill has to pass a straight-up vote in the Senate and a straight-up vote in the House, and it has to be signed by the President. If it doesn't do that, it doesn't meet the constitutional standard. Now, the process becomes a little more complicated as we go on, because the Senate has a weird rule. In fact, the Senate does a lot of weird things, but it has a weird rule, at least to those of us who are members of the House, and that is that before a bill can come up for a vote, it takes 60 votes to bring it up for a vote. So if you've got a bill and you say, hey, we got 100 senators, I've got 55 votes for the bill, you're in deep trouble, because you won't ever get the 60 votes to get it up for just a straight-up vote, even though you got enough votes to pass it. So in other words, the Senate really has a little bit of a higher bar to protect, to make sure there's at least 60 out of 100 senators that are willing to pass a particular piece of legislation or bring it up for a vote. So that makes things more complicated. The Senate took a House bill, which we passed on health care. They gutted it. They took every single thing out of it and stuck their own language in it, thousands of pages, a couple thousand pages of new ideas and text and all this, took it to the Senate floor and fought, and finally on Christmas Eve passed it by the 60 votes that were necessary, and so the bill was passed through the Senate. In order to do that, they put all kinds of special deals in there just to keep certain senators to vote for it. There was what's called the Second Louisiana Purchase, a big benefit for Louisiana. The Cornhusker Kickback, special deal for people of Florida that they get to keep their Medicare Advantage money, but everybody else, the other 49 states, have to lose $500 billion out of Medicare. And so there were all of these special deals in there, as well as a whole lot of other legislation. For instance, the fact that the government would be paying for abortions for people, which is a big problem for many Americans, and other provisions such as there would be health care for illegal immigrants and things like that, which are very controversial. So all of that then is passed on Christmas Eve, comes to the House. Now, in order for that bill to become law, two things have to happen. Either the House has to pass it just the way the Senate did, in which case they can send the bill straight to the President for a signature. So if the House, and of course the Republicans only have, they have 80 votes less over in the Republican side, so we could all vote no, but Nancy Pelosi could lose a whole lot of votes because she has 80 votes more than the Republicans do. So what they need is a majority of Democrats to sign the bill, to vote for the bill just the way the Senate passed it, could go straight to the President, and the bill could become law. That's a way to do it. The problem is it has all of this junk in it that nobody wants to vote for, and so they're kind of stuck with making a decision. Are we going to just vote on it and send it to the President, or are we going to try to amend it, which then requires it to go back to the Senate, where it has to face a 60-vote rule to get these things cleaned up? And so that's the tension, and so what's being proposed is something that is neither. It's something that is rather unusual and completely unprecedented to a degree. And that is what they call deeming the bill passed. That is, it was never really voted on to be passed. Now, in the past, we have done this deeming thing many times, but it's usually after a bill's gone back and forth and we're working out the details of an amendment. But this is thousands of pages of legislation that's never had a vote, and they're just going to say, well, we've just decided it's all approved without a vote. Now, that is really pushing the limits on what's constitutional. So that's the beginning of the process, and so I wanted to invite my good friend Dr. Fleming to join me, and let's just talk about this process a little. Most people are really bored to death by this stuff, but when it involves 1/6 of the U.S. economy and everybody's health care, it's like, I guess we have to pay attention. Please join me.
Well, I thank my friend from Missouri, and you're absolutely right. But you know what's interesting? Everywhere I go, there are a lot of people around Capitol Hill today. I bump into people that I know, people who are just average, everyday people, and it's amazing how much they are keeping up with this, even though it is getting boring. They know about this. This is not something that they're not tuned into, and that's for sure. But what's interesting, the way I have a mental picture about this is that this bill, way back months ago, was being pushed like a locomotive up a hill, and as it got closer and closer to the top, more and more problems began to come out. It weighted it down, and finally, as the bill, both in the Senate and now in the House, is getting close to the top, it's lost so much momentum because of the sleazy deals, the Louisiana Purchase, the Cornhusker kickback, the carve-out for Medicare Advantage in Florida. These things are turning the American people off, and it's really taking a lot of momentum out of the process. And on top of that is the shenanigans, the fakery, if you will, the smoke and mirrors way of financing it, which is, again, $500 billion taken out of Medicare, although no one will actually explain how we can do without $500 billion from Medicare. Then that money is used to extend the life of Medicare, which is going to run out of money in 8 years. It's also used to subsidize the middle class entitlement of private insurance. So that's really the same money counted 3 times. One is taking it out of something we know good and well you can't do without collapsing the system. 2, extending the system. And then 3, paying for other entitlements. And then adding the same amount again, another $500 billion in taxes. American people are not buying this.
Well, you're talking about there are just so many things in this bill to talk about, and that's why you have such old and young, male and female. The public just doesn't like this bill, and the reason is because there's stuff to hate for everybody in this bill.